we're back for more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. Today is Wednesday, February 5th, and we are still on fire with our college basketball best bets. Yesterday, a 5-0 day on the money lines, a positive day on the spreads, 3-2. So regardless of what you played on the channel yesterday, should have been a positive day of some sorts. And we were 2 points off of being perfect on the spread picks yesterday. So we go 3-2. The wins, big ones. Arizona plus money dog on the road at Provo. Central Michigan loses obviously to our guys in Miami of Ohio. The game was in Mount Pleasant, and the Redhawks went in there and picked up the victory, and a huge win and a cover for the best team right now in the Big East Conference. We're talking about St. John's with the win over Shaka Smart and the Marquette Golden Eagles. San Jose State wins the game by 3 on the road in Fresno, California. They were 3.5-point favorites. They win the game in double overtime. Huge night out of the two British stars for San Jose State, and Josh Uche and Latrell Davis, both those guys with 25 points. I believe both of them had around 6 3-pointers each. Huge game for the Spartans. Didn't cover, but they ended up winning. And then another one, obviously, in Los Angeles. UCLA wins the basketball game against Michigan State. They don't cover. They win the game by 2 points. They are 2.5-point favorites. So again, we swept the money lines, 3-2 positive day on the spreads. Let's look for more of the same today here on the channel. And folks, before we get into the best bets, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more daily college basketball content here on the channel. Again, all I ask for y'all to do as you watch these videos, make sure to subscribe and leave a like, and also make sure to join us in a couple hours for our NBA predictions as well. We've got 11 games today in the National Basketball Association, so make sure to check out that video in a couple hours here on the channel. And also make sure to go check out our UFC 312 predictions. The main event for the middleweight championship, Dricus Du Plessis defends his belt in a rematch against Sean Strickland from Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. So make sure to check that video out. It is linked in the description down below. All right. On to the first of our 5 best bets for today. We're going to start things off with an early spot here, a 3 p.m. game that I like personally. We've got the Eastern Tennessee Buccaneers, the East Tennessee Buccaneers going on the road to take on the Virginia Military Institute, VMI, obviously, the Cadets. SoCon basketball is interesting, right? I mean, you get UNC Greensboro, Samford, Chattanooga are the elite of the conference right now. I'd say Samford by far is the best team. You get Furman, who's really underperformed this year in the SoCon, and then you get East Tennessee, who's been pretty solid, and then VMI, who's been probably the biggest shocker all year in this conference. And what has VMI done recently? Well, they've won 5 of 6 games. I know you can immediately look at VMI's loss to Eastern Tennessee when the game was played in Tennessee, and ETSU won that game 84-69. But what has VMI done since that game? They lost 3 in a row after. They lose to Mercer, Samford, Chattanooga, but it's this big winning streak recently, with the exception of a UNC Greensboro loss, which has been absolutely huge for the Cadets. A win at home against West Carolina by 16 points. A win on the road at the Citadel. I get it, they're horrible, but still. Furman, a huge victory over Foreman at home by 9 points. They lose to UNC Greensboro, that's fine, but what have they done recently? They go to Wofford, win the game by 7 points. They go to West Carolina, who I get is not the most impressive, but a road victory is a road victory. And we don't even need the Cadets to win this game. We just need them to keep this one close. We are getting plus 7.5 points at home for VMI, and we're going to take it. That's the play in this one. For the Buccaneers, this is a 6-4 team in the SoCon. VMI, a 5-5 team in the SoCon. For East Tennessee State, though, they've lost 2 out of their last 3 going into this basketball game. I get it. Good teams, though. Chattanooga, they go to UNC Greensboro and lose, and they beat Furman. East Tennessee, though, they play a lot of competitive basketball games, right? I mean, look at some of their wins. Other than the bottom of the barrel teams in the SoCon, we're talking about, Citadel, and we're talking about West Carolina. They're winning games. Okay, Foreman victory by 3 points. They beat Samford on the road by 5, which is a very good victory, obviously. But again, that doesn't cover this line that we need today. They beat Mercer on the road by 2 points. The first VMI game, I get it, that's by 15. But guys, the Cadets are a completely different team from that first matchup. Now, East Tennessee State, I will admit, has the best player on the court. That's going to be Kwamari Peterson. Peterson's a guy who's averaging 18.5 points per game this season, averaging 18, 4, and 4. And they also have got Jaden Seymour, who's averaging 17.5. Again, probably the 2 best guys in the court, but the Cadets have been rattling off victories. They are the big surprise team in this conference, and a lot of praise has to go towards Augustus Kaludis. Probably butchering his name, but he's averaging 16 points a night for the Cadets this season. You add on top of that Ricky Bradley, who's averaging 15.5, TJ Johnson, who gives them 13 points a night, and all of a sudden the Cadets are, again, finding some victories in the SoCon Conference. But again, we don't even need them to win this basketball game. We just need them to keep this game close. Now, again, their initial loss, that's when the Cadets are probably at their lowest this season. They didn't have a great end in non-conference play. They lose to Queens University at home. They went to Davidson, lost. Loyola Maryland and lost. They went to George Washington and lost. but they have figured it out as conference play has gone on. And when they played East Tennessee State, it was the first day of 2025, obviously on New Year's. That's probably when the Cadets were at their worst. They lose the game by 15 points, but this Cadets team now, a road victory against West Carolina in overtime. I mean, this team is playing with confidence. They're playing their best basketball all season. I think they get East Tennessee State here. I try to combine get and East English. Anyways, I think they get the Buccaneers here. I really think they do. It's been, again, you get scoring output some nights out of Ricky Bradley, TJ Johnson, Kadulis. These three guys are going to score. One of these guys is going to give you about 25 points a night. And I get it, East Tennessee State's a good basketball team. I've spoken about Seymour and Peterson, the two best players probably on the court tonight. But after you get through those guys and then John Buggs III, not much output coming out of the bench and really the other starters as well. I'm not denying that the Buccaneers are a good basketball team. I think they are. But I think going on the road against VMI and having to cover these points, it's going to be difficult. I think this is a competitive basketball game. I think the Cadets are going to be in it. Again, a team that's won 5 out of their last 6 games, and now they're 7.5-point dogs at home. We're not even saying they win the game outright, and I'm not telling you to take the plus 240 money line. If you want to sprinkle it, you can. But the play for me here is plus 7.5 for VMI. I think the value's too good to pass up for, again, that many points for a team at home. I'd expect this line to close at about 6.5, 5.5. And again, if you have any questions about the lines, I make these videos at night, the night before, obviously, I post this, so you're seeing this if it first came out at 8 a.m. on the West Coast or 11 a.m. on the East Coast. I'm recording this video, if you can see my phone, at 12:32, right after midnight, obviously, half past midnight. I think that's the right way to say that. So if the line shifts, again, nothing I can do about it, I apologize, but for now, it's 7.5 for VMI. I think they cover this. We're going to take the Cadets at home against East Tennessee State. Let's move on to our second game of the night. One of my favorite things about picking college basketball recently has been just picking against the University of Cincinnati. This team has been very disappointing all year long. They have not looked nearly like the team they looked like at the end of last year in the Big 12. And it's been easy money picking against Cincinnati recently. 4 straight losses for the Bearcats. I feel like we talk about the Bearcats every single night because I legitimately think we've picked against them in 3 out of these last 4 games. Lost at Texas Tech, a loss at BYU, a loss at Utah, and then a loss at home against West Virginia in their last game. Now they got to go on the road to Central Florida, to Orlando to take on the Knights. They're 3.5-point dogs. I don't think they cover. I think UCF wins this game, and I think they win it by a lot. Now, I get it. UCF has been playing disappointing basketball. I want you to think about the 4 teams they play in this losing streak, though. Or they've lost 4 of 5. The one wins TCU at home. But think about the teams they've lost to on this stretch. They lose to Houston by 1 point at home. Houston is the best team in the conference, not named the Arizona Wildcats, and that's actually a loss they have prior to the Houston game. So if you want to say, they've lost 5 out their last 7, well, the other loss is Arizona, and then you add on the Arizona State win. Now, Arizona State last night with a bad loss to K-State, but it is what it is. That ending, man, free throws sometimes, right? Regardless, Houston lost. Iowa State, going to Iowa State, that's not easy. They lose that game. They beat TCU. Going to Lawrence and playing Kansas, losing the game by 4 points. All right. I mean, again, you want to win those games, but Kansas is a good team. They just beat Iowa State the other day. And then at home against BYU. Again, a game that you want to win if you're UCF. But BYU is not a bad team. They just played a very close game at home in Provo against Arizona. Now, they didn't come out on the right end of that one. Obviously, Arizona pulled away at the end, but that's not entirely a bad loss either if you're the UCF Knights. And now they're going to host Cincinnati. I get it. When they hosted Colorado, they won the game by 1 point. It was very competitive. A lot of their wins in the Big 12 are really close games. They just edge out. But Cincinnati's just playing horrible basketball right now. They can't find ways to score. It is CMOS to a point. It's Skillings who hasn't been able to put it in the bucket, obviously. This team in the last 3 games has scored 52, 66, and 50. It's a problem when your average scoring night is about 58 points, 59 points, about 58. That's a problem. That's not a winning formula, obviously. And they've just struggled to find guys who can take over a game. Again, it's been CMOS sometimes, not recently. Dan Skillings hasn't really had a great night shooting and scoring recently. And Skillings obviously is a guy who came back from injury but hasn't really been great since. He's putting up, he hasn't scored more than 10 points since January 18th. And then you look at Jizzle James, you look at Dylan Mitchell, there's not a consistent scorer on Cincinnati, and now they got to go on the road to play UCF. Now I get it, the Knights aren't all that great, but what UCF is going to do is that they're going to score, and they are going to put points in the basket. Obviously, we're talking about Keyshawn Hall, who had that 40-point game earlier in the year against Arizona State. We're talking about Darius Johnson, Jordan Ivy Curry. These guys can score, and they are going to put pressure on Cincinnati to keep up with them. So again, all the pressure in this game is going to be on the Bearcats because UCF's going to score. I get it, their defense isn't the best. They tend to foul a lot, and that's that one game where Keyshawn Hall had 40 against Arizona State. He would have had 55 in that one if he wasn't in foul trouble. But again, that's where UCF's going to hurt if they're going to foul. They're going to force Cincinnati, though, and they're going to, again, Cincinnati's going to be completely pressured to try to keep up. I don't think that's the type of game Cincinnati can win right now. On the road at UCF, I get it. UCF isn't the most daunted environment, but still, it's a road trip from the Midwest, or a plane ride, obviously, from the Midwest all the way down to Orlando to Central Florida. It's not an easy task at all for Cincinnati, a Cincinnati team that's been struggling, and I get it. UCF has been struggling result-wise recently, but look at the teams they've played. Again, Arizona on the road. They beat Arizona State in Tempe. They lose to Houston, lose at Iowa State, beat TCU, lose at Kansas, and lose to Brigham Young. Those are not bad losses. I know what you want to say. Oh, their win against Colorado at home was a 1-point victory. Sure, Colorado's not that great, but this Cincinnati team, I'd argue, is playing like the worst team in the Big 12 right now. And I get what you're thinking. Oh, they did beat Colorado. Sure. Since that Colorado game, since the Arizona State game, they've been awful. Those 4 games since Cincinnati left, or after Cincinnati beat Arizona State at home, they have been absolutely abysmal. And the best performance they played was the one right after the ASU game where they lost to Texas Tech by 10 points. Obviously, we took the Red Raiders in that spot, but the Bearcats have been bad. They have struggled to find a guy who they can rely on to score. Their single game high score this season is 20 points from Simas Lukauskis in their first game against Arkansas Pine Bluff, where he scored 20 points. Since then, they have not had a 20-point scorer. I repeat, the Bearcats have not had a 20-point scorer since the beginning of the season on November 4th. We do not trust this team to win. UCF's going to attack the rim. They are going to score, and all the pressure is going to be on Cincinnati to keep up. The Bearcats started the year 10-1. They are now 12-9. This is not a good basketball team, and the UCF Knights will blow them out the water. I think this is a double-digit blowout victory for the UCF Knights. I get it's 3.5. I personally don't think the game's very competitive. I think this is slightly mispriced. Give me the UCF Knights to win the game at home. They will blow out Cincinnati and cover the 3.5 points. Next up, we move on to the Horizon League. We've got the Northern Kentucky Norse at home against the Cleveland State Vikings. Give me the Cleveland State Vikings to go to Highland Heights, Kentucky and win the basketball game. Cleveland State is an 11-1 team this season. They are 17-6 overall. 11-1 obviously in the Horizon League, with their only loss being their first Horizon League game this season on the road at Milwaukee, who happens to be the second best team in the conference. This team just went on the road to Purdue Fort Wayne, winning the game by 10 points. They've been good all season long. We picked Cleveland State in their initial game against Northern Kentucky this season, and what did they do? The game was at the Wolstein Center in Cleveland, and the Vikings won the game by 18 points. Again, they have not lost since that initial matchup that they had in Horizon League play against Milwaukee, who again is the second best team in the conference and the team that they are hosting next on Saturday, I believe. Yeah. But again, since that Milwaukee loss, they went to Green Bay and won. They beat Oakland, Wright State, IU Indianapolis. They go to Robert Morrison to win. They go to Youngstown State and win. They blow out Northern Kentucky. They go to IU Indianapolis. They beat Detroit Mercy. They beat Green Bay, and they just beat the Mastodons of Purdue Fort Wayne, who happen to be, again, either the second or the third best team in the conference, regardless of where you rank them and Milwaukee. Cleveland State's good. They know how to score, and they play really good defense as well. Again, we were hating a lot earlier in the season against the Minnesota Golden Gophers, but Cleveland State shut that team down. And I get it. That was when, Dawson Garcia was having troubles. Parker Fox launched up a half-court shot, miraculously getting Minnesota right back in that basketball game. But that's when Minnesota's really struggling. Still, Cleveland State shut down a Big Ten team and played fairly efficient up there in Minneapolis. This is not a horrible basketball team at all, and I would say they're really good for the Horizon League. Obviously, they have the best record in the conference. This is a team that's led by Tevin Smith, who's averaging 14 points a game. Taj Stavasky's averaging 11.5. Dylan Arnett with 10. Jayshawn Stevenson averaging 9. Same with Chase Robinson. And you look at the North. Again, we just saw this matchup, and Cleveland State won the game by 18 points. Now this game is in Highland Heights, and Northern Kentucky's only a 1.5 point dog. You're getting minus 130 on the money line for the Vikings, plus 100 for the Norse. This Northern Kentucky team led by Trey Robinson, giving you 15 a night. Josh Dilling with 11, Sam Vinson with 11 as well. Guys, this game's not going to swing that many points just because the game's in Kentucky, okay? This is very similar to the spots we got yesterday and that we hit on yesterday. Miami of Ohio going to Central Michigan and Arizona going on the road to Brigham Young. Sure, they're going on the road against a middle-of-the-pack team in their conference, but honestly, no, I'm going to be honest with you, Northern Kentucky's not comparable to either BYU or Central Michigan. They're worse. I'll just be honest. Northern Kentucky's a 5-7 team in the Horizon League this season. They have lost 6 out their last 7 games going into this one. Sure, they went on the road to Michigan and beat Oakland. Great. They went on the road and won the game by 9 points. What happened prior to that? They go to Youngstown State and lose. They lose at home by 15 points to Oakland. They go to Cleveland State and lose the game by 18 points. They lose at home by 8 to Wright State. They lose to Milwaukee at home by 20. They go to Detroit Mercy, lose the game by 11. I get it, Detroit Mercy's better this season, but still, that's a team Northern Kentucky should be able to beat. Hell, they beat them earlier in the year at home by 13 points. So if you want to say something is maybe Northern Kentucky plays slightly better at home, but again, Milwaukee just went in here and won the game by 20 points. Why wouldn't the best team in the conference go in here and absolutely smash this basketball team? That's the question you need to ask. Something's up with this game if Cleveland State doesn't win it, so I don't know. Maybe Vegas got a hold of this one, but I think the Cleveland State Vikings go on the road, and I think they should pull out a victory. We don't care if they win it by 2 points or 20 points. We just need Cleveland State to win. If you want to take the 1.5, take it. They should probably cover. Again, I would be surprised if they only win the game by 1 point. I'll be honest with you. So give me the Cleveland State Vikings. Take the spread. Take the money line. The best team in the Horizon League just needs to take care of business and beat one of the bottom teams in the conference. We're taking Cleveland State on the road in Highland Heights, Kentucky, against the Northern Kentucky Norse. To our 4th game of the video, we move to the Big Ten. You know, we had to get our Big Ten, in on this video. Obviously, yesterday, shout out to UCLA, man. That's a top 15 team in the country. I keep trying to say that. That team's really good. And unfortunately, again, they didn't cover 2.5, but they won. And I am all over that UCLA team. I am serious about that team making a run in March. I'm serious about it. I feel great about a team like that with all that talent. If they can get everything going, which it seems like they are right now, they're getting hot at the right time. It's a little early, but if they can continue parlaying that momentum into the tournament, I'm just saying there's a chance UCLA wins the Big Ten, and there's a chance they make a run in March for the first time since when? I could be blanking. 2021? I could be blanking, but I believe that's the last time they went on a run. I could completely be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the last time UCLA went on a big run in the tournament. Anyways, we're going to Rutgers here, to the Jersey Mike's Arena in New Jersey for this one. I'm going to take Rutgers to cover the spread here. It's a 5:30 start time on the Big Ten Network. Rutgers just needs to cover 8.5 points. Who do I think wins? Probably Illinois. I don't trust Rutgers to pull out a close game here against the Fighting Illini. I don't. Michigan just went to Rutgers. Rutgers lost the game by 3. When Michigan State went to Rutgers, Rutgers lost the game by 7. When UCLA went to Rutgers, Rutgers beat UCLA. When Wisconsin went to Rutgers, Rutgers only lost by 2. They play much better at home. They just do. I know they just went on the road to Northwestern and won. Northwestern yesterday just beat USC. They beat Nebraska on the road, but, beating Nebraska on the road isn't that difficult. But actually, Nebraska's a team that might make the tournament, which is very surprising, but back-to-back victories against ranked teams, quad 1 wins. I mean, I guess they're going to, by the way, Nebraska goes to Washington today. I think Nebraska beats them. I was either going to put the Nebraska-Washington game in or this game in. I decided on this one, even though I do think Nebraska goes there and wins, but I don't know. They've just been out on the West Coast for a while. I don't know. Washington somehow coming off a victory over Minnesota, who won last night, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to stay away. I think this is the better play, Rutgers on the spread. And why? Because Rutgers has, again, Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey's averaging 20 points a game. He is a immediate, NBA type player. This is a guy who's NBA ready. The guy who needs to step it up is Dylan Harper, if we're being honest. I mean, Ace Bailey's been putting the team on his back, obviously, the 37 points in the win on the road at Northwestern. He's been killing it. Dylan Harper has struggled a lot. 3 of the last 5 games, he hasn't hit that 10-point mark. 6 points in the loss against Michigan State. Only played 13 minutes in that game. I think, is he back? I could have sworn he was back for this game. Because he didn't play the Michigan game. I'm pretty sure he's back. If not, that's fine. Ace Bailey should be able to make it up by himself, I think. Because he didn't play the Northwestern game, he didn't play the Michigan game. I thought Dylan Harper was going to be back for this one. If not, it's fine. Honestly, it's okay. Ace Bailey can take care of it. But if Dylan Harper does play, just needs to step it up. Again, played 32 minutes in the Penn State game, only scored 7 points. Played 28 minutes in the Purdue game, only scored 6 points. So again, I was under the assumption Dylan Harper was playing this game. I could have sworn I saw somewhere that he was going to play. I don't know. There's a report that he might be out for the rest of the season, but I thought I saw something that he was coming back. Regardless of if Dylan Harper plays or not, as long as Ace Bailey's in the court, we should be fine. We're still taking Rutgers. I get it. Once you get past again Bailey and Harper, sure, the production just goes. But Ace Bailey's that much of a game changer. And for the Fighting Illini, a team that, I don't know. And again, also, Rutgers has played everyone tough at the Jersey Mike's Arena. They have. Okay? For Illinois, obviously, you got Kasper Jacunius, who's been playing great all season long. Ivisic is already back. He had mono, and he plays, like 2 games after he gets mono, which is fine. He did all right in that game against Ohio State, drops 12 and 10. I mean, that's a Ivisic type performance. It is what it is. I think, again, teams have struggled to go into New Jersey and win this season. Well, they have won, but they've struggled to cover. And Ace Bailey, again, is that much of a difference maker. This is a guy who's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft this season. Hell, Dylan Harper probably will be as well, but right now, at least, seems like Ace Bailey is the main prize, at least out of Rutgers, with Cooper Flagg probably being the number 1 pick. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't. But yeah, I don't mind Rutgers here at all. I really don't. Again, we don't need them to win. It's the same situation that we talked about earlier with VMI. We don't need them to win. We just need them to keep this game close. 8.5 points. That should be okay, even without Dylan Harper potentially, which again, who knows? Probably not that I'm seeing now, but it is what it is. I'm still okay with the pick. And again, if you want to swap this out for Nebraska on the road against Washington, go ahead, be my guest. But Rutgers has always played teams tough in New Jersey this season. Again, a 3-point loss to Michigan, 7-point loss to Michigan State. They've been very competitive. They beat UCLA. I get it was January. That was before UCLA got really hot, and they saw their 7'4" Spaniard on the bench named Adai Mara and said, you can block 5 shots a game. Okay, no, you finally get on the court. No, it's okay. Give me Rutgers at home here, plus 8.5. They could win. I wouldn't really bank on it because Illinois finds ways to win basketball games. This is a good Illinois team. Obviously, they're still ranked, but they have struggled a little bit. They have struggled. They've lost 3 out of their last 5. They go to East Lansing and lose. Close game, I get it. Maryland beat them and blew them out in Urbana-Champaign. They beat Northwestern. They go on the road to Nebraska, lose the game in overtime, and then they, again, just beat Ohio State by 8 points. So, I'm okay with Rutgers plus 8.5. I think it's a tough line for Illinois to cover. Do they win? Maybe, but we just need the cover. So give me Rutgers at home to cover the 8.5 points. We go on to the final game of the night, and we go to the Atlantic Coast Conference. So obviously, we're going to take a trip to Berkeley, California for some Atlantic Coast Conference play between the NC State Wolfpack and the Cal Golden Bears. It's unfortunate, but NC State's horrible. There's no other way to put it. It's like that graphic that ESPN put up, like, what happened to the guys last year from NC State? DJ Burns is playing in Japan. Where's Mohamed Diarra? I think he's playing in Africa or Europe. I don't know. Ben Middlebrooks is still here. He hasn't had that big of a season. Guys, it's going to take another miraculous comeback out of the NC State Wolfpack to even make it to the ACC tournament. I don't know how they're doing it, I'll be honest with you. But it's going to take a miraculous comeback, obviously, like they did last year, winning, the ACC tournament as an 11 seed, and then obviously getting into the NCAA tournament as an 11 seed, getting to the Final Four. That was the story of March Madness, obviously, last year with DJ Burns and the guys over there with the Wolfpack. Unfortunately for NC State, I don't think they have any more tournament magic this season. And it's been really rough sledding. They're 2-8 right now in the ACC, and they have lost 6 in a row. North Carolina, VTech, they lose to Cal at home in Raleigh by 3 points. SMU, they lose by 6, lose to by 6. They go to Duke and lose by 10, and they lose to Clemson by 10 points. If you want to give NC State credit somewhere, is that they are usually competitive in these games. I will give them that. But here's the thing. It is a cross-country trip to California against the California team that beat them by 3 the first time around, but now the line is 3.5. So do we think Cal, again, shifts anywhere in the right direction in this game compared to when they played in Raleigh? The answer to that question is yes. Now I get it. The Cal Bears, they've lost 2 in a row. They went to SMU, lost the game by 11, and they hosted Syracuse and had a really bad game and lost the game by 9 points. What did they do prior to that? They won 3 in a row. They go to NC State and win. They hosted Florida State, picking up a huge victory, and they beat Miami, but doesn't everyone beat Miami? That's okay. This team can score. They only beat Miami by 4 points. I could have sworn that game was a larger margin. Regardless, Cal can score. Andrea Stojakovic obviously can score. Jeremiah Wilkinson can score. Javon Blackshear can score as well. Now, Stojakovic has been out since the NC State game. I don't think he's returning for this one. That's okay. Stojakovic, prior to injury, had some big nights, but didn't play well in the UNC game. Played all right in the NC State game. So who has taken over since the Stojakovic injury? It has been Blackshear. It's been Wilkinson some. Jeremiah Wilkinson was averaging 13.5 points. The freshman out of Powder Springs, Georgia, is the Golden Bears point guard. And since that Stojakovic injury, 30 in the win over Miami, 16 in the loss to SMU, but nobody really had a good night for Cal in that one. And then 20 in that loss to the Syracuse Orange. So Wilkinson's been playing great. Javon Blackshear, when he's on, volume shooter, but when he's on, Javon Blackshear, he's not a guy you want to leave open from beyond the arc. This team also does have Stephon Marbury Jr. He doesn't play. He's a freshman. I believe he's redshirting. But regardless, I like the Cal Bears here. I really do. I think NC State, this is a late night game. This is at 8 o'clock on the West Coast. Same type of scenario when Wake Forest has to come over from North Carolina to go to Stanford to play the Cardinal. Same thing with NC State. You got to go from Raleigh, California, and now you got to play at 11 o'clock your time. That's when the game starts. Game's not ending to at least 1. I'm telling you, that travel makes a difference, and the fact that California is only a 3.5-point favorite is really interesting. I get it, they've been without Stojakovic. Don't really care. I don't think NC State's prepared to play this game. I don't think they're going to be well equipped to play this game. They're going to go. This is going to feel like a snooze fest for NC State. I'm serious. It's going to be a weird game because, guys, nobody goes to California Golden Bears basketball games. No one goes to Cal games. No one goes to Stanford games. I always talk about, I go to Santa Clara games. I've been to San Jose State games. No, the reason why I only go to those is because Cal and Stanford, the power schools, the power 4 schools, they don't get anyone to go to their games because why? The students really don't care. They're up. They're just, they're in the library, which, credit to them. So look real bad if I'm at Cal, if I'm, I might be at Cal. Probably not. I don't want to go to Cal. Regardless, it's a transfer. Trust me, I'm not in high school. Anyways, I'm taking Cal. We're taking the Golden Bears. It's going to be a snooze fest for NC State. They're going to get in that building. They're going to get in the Haas Pavilion. It's going to be 11 o'clock their time. There's going to be nobody in the crowd. It's just going to be nothing but the PA announcer, and it's going to be a snooze fest for them. Cal's going to find a way to win. NC State won't be in the basketball game. They're not going to feel like playing this one. They're not adjusted yet to, West Coast time. I'm taking California. We're taking the Golden Bears to win. We're taking them to cover the 3.5 points as well. So, folks, thank you all for watching our 5 best bets for Wednesday, February 5th. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to comment. If you do disagree with any of the picks, we'll be back in a couple hours for our NBA predictions and tomorrow as well for more daily college basketball best bets. Folks, thank you all for watching, and Mamba forever.